Hello students, a very good day to each one of you, and I hope you all are making the maximum use of this period of lockdown by studying well and revising all what is taught to you. In my last class of English literature, I had given you the explanation of the poem The Cold Within, stanza wise, and today I'll be discussing a few extract based questions. But before we begin, I want to brief you with some of the poetic devices which are used here in the poem. Now, many a times a question based on poetic device has come in the board exams, so children, do not neglect this. Now, the narrative technique used here in this poem is that the poem is a narrative poem in the sense the stanzas tell us a story, especially the first stanza about the 6 humans who got trapped just by chance and how they do not die due to the coldness outside but due to the coldness within their hearts. There is rhyming scheme followed here in the poem, as you can see on this screen, and the rhyming scheme that is here used is ABCB, the way the last words rhyme. Then we have alliteration, which is the close repetition of consonant sounds in order to facilitate narration, to make the narration easy. So this is bleak, bitter, and 4 off the faces round the fire. The 3 F's in the next line. Then we have personification. In this device, the poet tries to attribute or give human-like qualities to abstract things. So in this poem, death has been personified as if death is a human being. Next is oxymoron. It is a figure of speech in which contradictory terms appear in a conjunction. For example, the last man of this forlorn group. Now children, you can see forlorn. Forlorn means lonely, and group. So how can we have a group and that too lonely? A single person can be lonely, but so these are 2 contradictory words, forlorn and group. So there's irony also, you can say, used here. The tone of the poem is very sad and melancholic. 6 men are trapped in cold weather and their dying fire is in need of logs. But even though each of them clutches on to the piece of wood, they cannot put it to use and to let the fire burning because of the selfishness in their hearts. So the irony is that they die from the cold within them. So the tone of the poem is so depressing that one can almost feel the coldness of their hearts that the poet describes. So here we start with some extract-based questions. Now, as you can see in the stanza, 6 humans trapped by happenstance, each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Their dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back, for off the faces round the fire she noticed one was black. Next man looking crossed the way saw one not of his church and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Which figure of speech is used in the line in bleak and bitter cold? Now, very easy children, I've just explained that to you. So I think many of you can make a guess. Yes, have you tried guessing? Yes, so let me give you the answer. It is alliteration, which means close repetition of consonant sounds. Now, what special significance do the adjectives bleak and bitter have? Now, the literal meaning of bleak and bitter means unpleasant and biting. So, these adjectives, they define the word cold. Now, the coldness outside is compared to the coldness within the hearts of these 6 people as they are not warm or friendly with each other. Who are the people referred to in the above extract? Very easy question, children. The people referred to are the 6 indifferent people who are trapped together by chance in biting cold. And children, sequence wise, you must know, make a note of the 6 people who are mentioned in the poem, stanza wise. So, you must really revise the 6 people that are mentioned in the stanza. The first one is a woman, a white woman. The next one is a man who belongs to a religious community. The third is a man who is a poor man. Then we have a rich man. Second last is the black man, and the last man is the selfish person. So this is how 6 people are there. Now, why do they need logs? These 6 people, they need obviously logs so that they can keep the fire burning in order to prevent themselves from cold. Then, what character traits would you associate with the first one and the next man, and why? Now, the first one can be said to be holding a racist attitude. It's the white woman, and there is discrimination on the basis of race here, as she doesn't want to benefit the black man. The black means the African American, and the woman is an American. Then the next man can be said to be a bigot. You may note it down, B-I-G-O-T. So a bigot is a person who doesn't listen to others' opinions, has his or her own opinion, and cannot tolerate others with a different opinion. So the next man is said to be a bigot, who, on seeing that one of the men in the group does not belong to his religious community, prevents himself from using his log in order to keep the fire burning. Next question. What does the first one hold back and why? Now, the first person, who is the first person? The white woman. She holds back her log because she was overpowered by her racist attitude towards the black man. So, you can say the poet has shown that there is discrimination on the basis of race. So, she doesn't use her log to prevent the black man from getting its warmth. Then the next one, state how the following line is connected with the theme of the poem. They're dying fire in need of logs. So you have to think. Now, they're dying fire in need of logs means it refers to the fire which is dying and it needs to be kept alive with the use of a log. So it can be understood that as the fire of compassion or human feelings in their hearts, it is that fire which was dying. So here the dying fire, you can take it as the fire which was burning and was dying, or you can also metaphorically say that it is the fire of compassion in the hearts of those 6 men which was dying. So to keep it burning, what they needed was a log of wood, but they did not use it. So towards the end, each of them died from the cold within. Due to the lack of compassion and human feelings for each other, each of them died in the end. Alright, children? Okay. Alright, so now we come to the next extract. And you can see on the screen. Now the third one sat and sattered close. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his lock be put to use to warm the idle rich? The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his side, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. Now what is meant by tattered clothes? Now children, tattered clothes means torn clothes or worn out clothes. Now what does this expression tattered clothes symbolize? Now this expression symbolizes that the man who was wearing them was poor and had little money to cover himself in extreme cold. Why does the third one give his coat a hitch? Now the poor man does not intend to use his lock to renew the fire, and so to protect himself from the biting cold, he pulled up his coat to feel a little warm, and so he gave his coat a hitch. The third one doesn't want to use his lock to warm the rich. Why? Now the third one, you already know, my dear children, that he is a poor man and he is jealous of the rich. He is also prejudiced and therefore he does not want to put his lock to use. So here discrimination is on the basis of class. You can write rich and poor, two different classes. Next, what thoughts preoccupy the rich man's mind? Now the thought of keeping his wealth safe from the lazy poor man preoccupied the rich man's mind. Okay? What does now after saying that what does occupy, what does it say about him? So what does it say about this the behavior of the rich man? What does it say about him? Now the thoughts of keeping his wealth safe from the lazy poor preoccupied the rich man's mind, and it reflects his biased nature, biased nature, due to the class. Means here you can say that the poet is trying to show the discrimination on the basis of class. So it tells us about the rich man that he was biased. Because he was a rich man, he only wanted to help the rich and not the poor. What prejudice did the black man has, and for whom? Now the black man is filled with revenge for the white man. And based on the color of the skin, he considers the white man, different from himself. So here discrimination is on the basis of color. Next, for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. Now these lines are referring to the black man who was filled with revenge for the white man. Okay, so he in order to harm the white man, he doesn't put his lock to use. So making the white man suffer in cold was his only chance to get his revenge. Now we come to the next extract. The last one of this fallen group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. Now explain the phrase, the fallen group. Now already I've explained this to you earlier. So the phrase forlorn group is actually means lonely group, sad and lonely. Now, which figure of speech is used here? Now, the figure of speech that is used here is oxymoron, that is a pair of contradictory terms, children. And this phrase is ironical because it refers to these 6 people who were sitting together in a group and they were sad and lonely. Next, what game is the poet referring to while mentioning the last man of the group? Now, the poet is referring to the selfish game of give and take that the last man of the group, employs. Since anyone else does not offer his log to renew the fire, he also takes a step back because he believes in playing the game of give and take. He says nobody's ready to put in their logs, so why should I do that? So he is a selfish man. What proof of human sin is being referred to here? Now, all the 6 people died with their logs tightly clutched in their hands. Their indifference, their animosity, discrimination, their spite, anger, revenge, all invited death. This proof of human sin is referred here. The poet says that the characters died from the cold within. What does he mean? Now, the title of the poem, The Cold Within, symbolizes, or you can say is symbolic of, lack of warmth and compassion in human beings. 6 human beings are caught against their will in bleak and bitter cold, but none of them uses the wooden stick that each one has due to racism, envy, arrogance. You can note down racism, envy, arrogance, revenge, and greed. They are so cold from inside that they do not realize that by not helping others, they themselves will perish or they will die. So their cold-heartedness invites death in the end, and they die with their logs held tight in their hands. So thank you, children. Please revise well and do all these questions and answers in your assignment notebooks.